What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Johnny Depp film, Alice Through the Looking Glass. Alice Through the Looking Glass is the 6-year-in-the-making sequel to Alice in Wonderland, and it stars Mia Wasikowska picking up her role as Alice, along with Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter yet again, with the addition of Sacha Baron Cohen playing Time. Now, the story behind this is pretty much Alice goes back to Wonderland. She finds out the Hatter is dying, basically, because he believes that his family is still alive when everyone else thinks they're dead and no one refused to believe him, so it's like killing him for some reason. So then Alice has to like go back in time to save the Hatter by changing the past. It's really weird. And the story is sort of convoluted and doesn't really seem to matter that much or make any sense. Now, this movie does have some good things with it. I think the plot is the main issue with this film, really. The effects, just like when the first one, are extremely impressive and take a lot of time to do, but they have their moments in this film where I feel like they look sort of fake. And I know that you will always have that. If you computer generate tons of things, something in that movie has to look fake. And I think that this movie happens to suffer from that issue, though as a whole it is still a very impressive film to watch on screen in 3D. Now, the cast seems to do the best they can with the script they have. All of the returning cast does fine. Most of the returning cast has very small roles and isn't really in this movie that much. It's mostly Mia Wasikowska and Johnny Depp and Sacha Baron Cohen. Everyone else is only in it a little bit, and I feel like Johnny Depp actually does pretty good in this movie. I actually felt for his character, and I think that he was fine throughout the whole film, and I think Sacha Baron Cohen is by far the best person in this movie. I think he's funny, and I think his character is also very interesting, while Mia Wasikowska seems like she sort of sleepwalks through some of the scenes and doesn't really seem like she's trying in some of them. But as a whole, I think she does good enough with everything that she had to work with in this movie. This movie also has some pretty funny moments. It's not a comedy by any means, but there are a couple scenes, mostly involving Time, the character of Time, played by Sacha Baron Cohen, that are actually pretty funny. He has these little robots that help him keep his castle like clean and working and everything, and they're called seconds, and then they can build into time of larger amounts and everything. And they're pretty funny throughout the movie, and as a whole, I think it worked pretty well in those moments, but the movie isn't that funny overall. It's just there are a few characters in the movie that have some pretty decent quips throughout it. I think the biggest issue with this movie is that it didn't really need to be made, and I understand that that's sort of a strange argument, but the first film came out 6 years ago and has died off in pop culture, and no one really talks about Alice in Wonderland anymore. Maybe it gets brought up for its effects now and then, but overall, no one's walking around talking about how much they love Alice in Wonderland. It wasn't that well received of a movie critics-wise, and as a whole, it's just a decent film, maybe. So 6 years down the road, I don't really know what would compel a movie company to say, hey, let's spend like in the hundreds of millions of dollars to produce this movie that requires all of these special effects. But they did, and the movie suffers from that fact because it doesn't have any momentum going into the film. You're just expected to know this stuff when the movie is so old you don't. The biggest issue with this film, and I think this is the one that really hits this movie hard, is the script. This movie's script feels like it has no real gusto behind it. It doesn't feel like it even wants to be made. And everyone in the movie seems to be of the same impression. And as the movie moves forward, it's dragging while at the same time rushing through a story. It spends a decent amount of time in the beginning just getting you to Wonderland. And then once you're there, it seems like you're just sort of pushed into this story. You're forced into it. It doesn't seem like it naturally came along. And once you're there, it just continues to push forward and sort of rush through these moments. And it's very strange because this movie is 2 hours long. It drags, yet at the same time it's rushing itself to get through this story. And I don't think I've ever seen a movie that's somehow simultaneously done the two things that a script is not supposed to do. It both dragged and rushed. This movie just really has nothing special about it. It has really cool effects, and I think Depp and Cohen are pretty good in the film, but besides that, everything else in the movie is just mediocre. As a whole, this movie is fine, and that's okay for a movie to just be fine, but I don't understand why you would spend upwards of $150 million on a movie that's going to end up being just fine. I'm going to give Alice Through the Looking Glass a C. If you enjoyed Alice in Wonderland, go see this movie. You will probably enjoy this movie as well. I personally thought the first Alice in Wonderland film was just okay, and I think that this one falls in that same category of just being okay. It doesn't commit any massive atrocities for it to be a terrible film, but it doesn't do anything to make itself be a good film either. Well guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this review, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of Alice Through the Looking Glass, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and I hope to see you guys later.